Hello guys, and welcome back to the Camera 64 podcast, and I am your host Alfonso Chavez, and as always we're coming to you from sunny San Antonio, Texas. But today we're coming to you from the backyard, and I want to take this opportunity to thank the people who have reached out the past couple of days over the last video talking about my Canon 20D sensor cleaning. It's always great to have some kind of interaction because shooting YouTube videos is a lot more difficult than most people think. Having ideas can be intimidating. Trying to come up with ways to kind of keep you guys engaged is it's a little bit more difficult than what it appears to be, right? If you got a whole team doing it, I think it's a little bit easier because you have a whole bunch of people to bounce stuff off of. But if you're just a solo guy shooter like myself, it can be a little bit more difficult. And so when there's interactions and people have something to say or questions to ask, that makes my job a whole lot easier. So if you're liking the videos, I want to suggest that you please give us a thumbs up. But more important than that is I would love to have you guys interact with me, share stories with me, give me some ideas about stuff, or if you have questions about photography or videography, then feel free to chime in, and I will be more than happy to make a video directed right towards your question. That is so helpful, right? And it's something I enjoy doing, and it just gives me an avenue or a way and a direction to go in when I'm making these videos. But I want to go back to the 20D because I think I'm going to really genuinely make a whole series about it. You know, I had talked about it in the past and didn't think much about it, but there's a lot of interest, believe it or not, in the old Canon 20D, which I have right here. Let me grab it right quick. So this is the Canon 20D, and right here I have the Canon 24-105 mounted on there because that was the lens that I had on in the previous event that I just did. Now I did shoot a birthday party for an 80-year-old. She was having her 80th birthday party, and she's somebody that had hired us before. We've done a couple of parties for her over the year. I think I did her 70th, if I remember correctly, and I think I did her 65th. So this is like the third or fourth party that we've done for her, and she's just a super nice lady. I've known her for almost 20 years. She was the wife of one of my dad's friends from work, from when he worked a long time ago before he retired. And they just been in close contact over the years. He passed away, but my parents still get together with this young lady. And so she was happy to have me back to shoot pictures for her 80th birthday. And it was a great time. She had an Elvis impersonator, and I'm gonna go ahead and show some of that video here so you can see. But yeah, they had an Elvis impersonator, and she also had the event at a local pretty popular steakhouse. It's called the Little Red Barn, which is nice. I hadn't been there in such a long time, so it was great to be back at that restaurant after, I would say, probably 20 years plus since I've been to that restaurant. Probably when me and my wife were first dating, I think I might have taken her there. So it's been a long time. But let's get back to this Canon 20D. So the story is I originally had not planned on shooting the Canon 20D for this particular party, you know, because this was going to be, you know, I didn't charge her next to nothing. It was just going to be in and out, right? Shoot the pictures, print them up for her, buy an album off of Amazon, and just you know, sleeve all her pictures into her book. And that's what I've been doing for her the past couple of times. She really enjoys that, and so I just went ahead and continued to do what she had asked me for. But aside from that, I also shot some video for her because I mean, it's an Elvis impersonator. She paid a pretty premium to have him there. So I went ahead and had my son, who was with me anyway, I asked him if he could just watch a camera for me and make sure that everything was running properly and the exposure was correct. And he did that for me. So I have some video that I'm also going to deliver to her on DVD. So how did I end up shooting the 20D? So I packed up my bag. I had I packed up two speed lights, and my Canon R6, of course, with the 24 to 105, but the RF version. And as I was getting out of the van, once we got to the location, my wife noticed that I had left my 20D in the back of the van, and said, "Hey, hey, you got the 20D back there. You want to grab that, because that area of town can be a little bit rough, right? They might break my window to grab the camera." So I grabbed the camera on my way in, and I said, "I'll just take it in," and that's exactly what I did. And I did have my 20D. I'm sorry, I did have my R6 in my bag, in my backpack. And then once I got in there, I said, let me go ahead and just shoot the Canon 20D. And that's exactly what I did. I had the same lens. Of course, this is the RF version, but it's the same 24 to 105, which, if you don't know by now, that is one of my favorite lenses, and it stays on the camera more than likely, unless I just absolutely need more light, then I'll jump to my 24 to 72.8. But it's very rare, because I'm a flash shooter, and because I'm a flash shooter, I'm able to create the difference of one stop, right, with the flashes, which is great. That's why I always encourage people to get into flash photography as soon as you can, because you can make up that one stop, right? Instead of getting 2.8 glasses, you can shoot with f4. Now, the situation in there, it was kind of weird as far as color balance goes, because the entire interior of this building is painted red. And if you know Canon cameras like I know Canon cameras, red is one of those colors that just seems to somehow get over red. It becomes too red, and it can create problems. And that's exactly what happened as far as temperature goes, right? So they have tungsten lights going on, heavy tungsten lighting with red walls. So you have to excuse, there's a plane flying overhead. I live near a military base. But yeah, so it had the tungsten lighting, red walls, and the color got really funky in there, to say the least. So what I did is I just went ahead and selected one color, and I think I set it at 5600, I believe it was, or I might be off, but I chose a tungsten balance, just so that way there would be a consistency with the color all the way across. And I started off shooting, of course, f4. I'm in aperture mode, and I'm shooting at ISO 800 is what I started with. But I took a couple of pictures, and I kept getting 20th of a second, kept getting 30th of a second, which even with a flash can be a little iffy, a little scary, because you will at that point start to introduce some shakiness when you start shooting into those 20 and 30s. So I went ahead and bumped it up to 1600, guys, which on this camera can be a little bit scary as well. ISO 1600 just does not look great. And the fact is that the lighting in there was not very good, and there wasn't a lot of it either. So it was a really dark situation. So once I brought my ISO up to 1600, I started getting 50th of a second, 60th of a second, and some shots, depending on where I was at, were getting a little bit higher. But I feel a little bit more comfortable shooting flash at 60th of a second, and that's where I left the camera at for the rest of the night. And I have to say that, the pictures came out really nice. I gotta agree that they're pretty nice. Now, are they perfect? Absolutely not. Are they grainy if you zoom in 100%? Yeah, they are. But for this particular client, I know that she wanted prints. So I printed out the entire, I think I ended up shooting 130 pictures total. And from those 130, I eliminated all the ones with eyes closed and all the ones that had some minor blurring in it. From the first couple, I think it was like the first 10 pictures that I shot or something like that. Removed all of those. All in all, I ended up with like 106 total pictures. And that worked out great, right? 106 pictures out of 130 or so. I eliminated about 25. So I ended up with a good round number. But they all printed very nice, guys. They printed really nice at 4x6. And then I did print one of her and her, I think it was her brother, her and her brother who were celebrating the party together with the Elvis impersonator. I made her 2 copies of those prints instead of 4. Well, aside from 4x6, I also made 2 8x10s for them. And those came out looking really nice too. So all in all, I guess what I'm saying is that for, I would say probably 90% of the people that will hire you, the Canon 20D will absolutely do the job. Now, did I have a flash on? Yes, I did. How was I using it? I was using it on camera, and I had the flash head turned just straight up, and my white bounce card pulled out so that I get a little bit of kick going forward. I'm sending most of the light up. And when you do that, especially at this location, because they didn't have white ceilings, they had red ceilings, that is where you kind of run into problems with your white balance. And so I did have to white balance. So what I did is I created, there were 2 different areas, I want to say, 2 areas. Towards the front, there was more red, and towards the back, there was a large window. So we had some blue light coming in at the back of the part. So that required a little bit different. So all the pictures I shot at the front of the area, I used this kind of preset that I made for that area. And then everything that I turned around and was facing that window light where all the blue light was coming in, I created a separate correction for that. And I applied that correction to all those pictures in that direction. So that's one of the advantages of shooting RAW. Now, if I had shot this in JPEG, it would have been very difficult. And the thing about JPEG is not that it's bad, but in this particular situation, I knew that white balance was going to be all over the place. And so when that happens, JPEG files just do not hold on to all the information or a lot of information that's going to allow me to change that white balance after the fact. It kind of bakes it in. It becomes a permanent part, and it's very difficult to change. Well, not difficult to change, but it's difficult to change it to where it's not noticeable that it was changed, or that there's some kind of weird color shift in the picture because we had to kind of push it, right or left, or if we had to push it warmer or lighter, and magenta and green colors. If you have to push it in any other direction, it's a lot more noticeable on JPEGs, versus in the RAW you can do that, till the cows come home. You can push it up and down, side to side, and you're not going to have any major issues. So that's the other thing. The Canon 20D does have RAW. I would suggest shooting in RAW, but I was pretty impressed, because even though this camera is not very good at 1600, at the addition of flash absolutely can be the difference between a really good picture and a really bad picture with nothing more. And the reason why, guys, is just light. Light is the answer, right? The camera, doesn't matter what lens you have, it doesn't matter what camera you have, whether the sensor's large or whether it's small, it doesn't matter, so long as there's enough light for that particular sensor. So this is an APS-C sensor, right? So obviously it's going to need a little bit more light. So what better way than to have a flash? Just have a flash with you at all times. And as the venues get bigger, obviously you need a little bit more flash, and that's when I'll have my on-camera flash, and then I'll set up flashes in different parts, some to the back, some to the front, and I just push them off. And I never push them directly in, I always push them off. But what happens is you can fill the room just ever so, and you have complete control. So don't be afraid when you walk into a hall and it's just completely darkness, because that can be intimidating. But if you have enough flashes, and I'll show you my flash setup on the next video, because I have a big rolling camera bag, and I keep about maybe 10 to 12 speed lights in there, which are great for a lot of different situations. But for this particular camera, which doesn't do good in that situation, ideally you always want to shoot at 800 or less on this camera, and even preferably 400. And anything at 400 or less, 100, 200, and 400, you're gonna get excellent results. Once you go into 800, that's kind of pushing it, and 1600 would not be something that I would recommend, you know, for the most part. This particular event obviously was not a wedding. If this would have been a wedding, I still could have used this Canon 20D, but I absolutely would have introduced enough light into that area in order to keep this camera at 400 for a wedding, just because I want those images to be clean and clear, and that's where flash becomes super important. So setting up 3 or 4 or 5, 6 flashes in order to keep this camera shooting at ISO 400 is absolutely doable. And believe it or not, I would always go that avenue because flashlight is so much cleaner versus even if you have a 2.8 lens without the flashes, it still can kind of look kind of hairy from time to time. It's not going to always be ideal, right? And because it's not ideal, is there really an advantage from going from this lens, which is the 24 to 105 f4, going to 24 to 70 2.8? There's really not an advantage, guys. It's not an advantage just to have an extra stop of light if the darkness is still there. Because if the darkness is still there and there's not good light, you're just not going to get good pictures, period. I mean, that's just the fact. But that's been my show, and I will hopefully I did put some pictures up of this. I'm pretty sure I did, right? In the editing, I'll do that. I'll add some pictures throughout this so you can kind of get an idea. If you want to go check this out, I did load some video as well as some pictures onto my website. So you can go to my website and go to, it's www.camera64.com. That's camera64.com. And then at the top, you'll see where it says Find My Pictures. Just click on that. And then you'll see you'll see where it says Photos. And then once you go into Photos, you'll see at the very top of that menu, it says Find My Pictures. Click on that, and her gallery, the newest galleries are always at the very top. So you'll be able to see these pictures. If you want to see them a little bit slower, if you want to see them a little bit larger on your monitor at home on your computer, you can do that. And you can also see some of that Elvis. He put on a great little show. You know, it's an older guy, but it was a great little show. The older ladies loved it, and it actually kind of gave me, wow, I should be an impersonator of somebody, right? If you think that I would make a good impersonator, let me know. Since I got a bald head, I mean, I can put a wig on for just about any singer. I can definitely karaoke. That's not a problem. So maybe I might become a tribute artist. What do y'all guys think? That would be great. That would be great. But that's been my show for today, guys. I just want you to know that this old camera can absolutely still be used for events, especially if you're printing. If you're printing anything under 8x10, you are good to go. I have printed posters off of 8 megapixel files before, and they look amazing. So I don't see I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to make this camera work. So if you own it, I want you to get out there, do an event, and get back to me. Send me files, just like you go to my website to look at my stuff. Go send me your stuff so I can go look at it. I really would like to see what you guys are doing out there. But that's been my show for today, guys. I'm coming to you from the backyard today, just a little bit of a change up, just so I can try something different. And if you like this view, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, go down and subscribe. And as always, if you want to give me a thumbs down, I will gladly accept it, because some interaction is better than no interaction. But just let me know how I can make this video better for you next time. Till next time, guys, you take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.